Powers at the State Control Centre in Melbourne. Gabriella, authorities are ready for deteriorating conditions today.
Annalise, firefighters still have a long and challenging day ahead. More than 50 fires are still burning. 7 are at an emergency level. 14 are at a watch and act level, and there are 6 evacuate now warnings for residents, especially in Victoria's north and northeast region, which is a big concern for authorities at the moment. This is where we're going to see temperatures soar into the mid-40s. We're expected to see wind gusts of up to 80 kilometres an hour. That will, of course, impact fire behaviour, and what we don't want to see is fires merging or more fires flare up. Now, more than 800,000 hectares has burnt across Victoria. 21 people are still missing in East Gippsland, and there are at least 16 communities that firefighters haven't been able to reach yet. Victoria is still in a state of disaster, and authorities are reminding people in those 6 local government areas and those alpine regions that if you can leave, you must leave.
If people are in these areas thinking, well, I'll wait for those fires to do something before I leave, then that's not the right thinking. If you're in that mind at all, you should be getting out now, because you don't know what new fires might start. Already there are a number of different road closures across the northeast and East Gippsland. And if you might be thinking about, I can get out on a particular road close to you, well, there's every chance that a fire could hit that particular road and you can't get out.
And Gabriella, can you tell us more about the defence operation evacuating people and pets from Malakuta?
Well, Annalise, the first evacuees of the devastating Malakuta fires have arrived safely in Hastings. It was, of course, a long and emotional journey for the 60 people on the Sycamore. They've been transported by bus to a relief shelter where they will be greeted by friends and family. There are more than 1,000 people on the HMAS Choules, which is expected to arrive at Western Port at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Both ships will then be refuelled, and then they'll be taken back to Malakuta to help with further evacuations.
There are still people at Malakuta, and we've got additional 30 police going in there today to support the community locally there. That will involve community meetings as well. We also have a plan for a number of aircraft to go into Malakuta today.
Authorities are reminding all Victorians to stay up to date and monitor conditions by downloading the Vic Emergency app.
Gabriella, thank you. Now to Patrick Murrell at Lakes Entrance in East Gippsland. Pat, a wind change is hitting the area now, which could bring worse bushfire conditions.
Annalise, that's right. At the start of this day, it was quite still around the East Gippsland region, but within the past hour or so, those winds heading from a southwesterly direction to the northeast have really picked up, and that's the worry for authorities in the area, that they could see the ongoing fires, which have already burned 800,000 hectares of land spread and perhaps even join up. There are 7 emergency warnings across Victoria. 4 of those are in this region in East Gippsland, as well as a number of evacuate now warnings. Authorities are wanting to get people out of those small towns to avoid them getting isolated by flames, which is what we saw in Malakuta. Here in Lakes Entrance, it's one of the towns that's seen as a bit safer because it is on the water. The advice, though, is to go to Bairnsdale, which does have a relief centre there, but as far west as you can go, the better. Now, Bruthen is seeing some quite strong winds at the moment. They are heading here towards the east of the state, and then they'll be heading north, where the worry is that they could hit the ongoing fire near Corryong and potentially send it over the New South Wales border. At the start of the day, it was very, very smoky here in Gippsland, but that has cleared a lot in the past half hour, and because of that, the fires could be even more dangerous. Take a listen to Andrew Crisp speaking about that a bit earlier.
What's working in our favour, although it's having a significant impact on communities, is the smoke in East Gippsland. So the smoke in East Gippsland is sort of holding down the fire behaviour in that particular area. We know that with the southwest change that comes through, it will push some of that smoke away from the coastal areas of Gippsland. Once those fires become exposed to the sun, there is definitely the potential for some elevated fire activity there.
Tens of thousands of people are being evacuated from right around the state. We know that around the Alpine region, between 60 and 70% of people are heeding those warnings and getting out of the area. Here in East Gippsland, it's a bit harder to gauge because communities are so remote and because the fires have been burning for so long. Yesterday, there was a massive queue of vehicles right through Bairnsdale. Today, there are dozens of people from towns near Lake Entrance who have evacuated here to Lake Entrance. They've been camping out or staying at accommodation. The advice is leave just in case you do get cut off by these fires that are predicted to spread. Take a listen.
Traffic flows have been significant, particularly out of the northeast, Upper Hume and through the high country. There have literally been tens of thousands of people moving out through those areas, and compliance in terms of people opting to leave. Estimates can vary a bit, but sort of between 60–70% of people spoken to by police have indicated they were intending to leave.
And Pat, volunteers have arrived with much needed supplies for stranded residents.
That's right, Annalise. As I mentioned before, people from the surrounding areas have chosen Lake Entrance to flee to because it is a bit safer. It's by the water. They have, though, been left without food or water. Many shops here in town remain closed. Earlier this morning, 5 trucks organised by the Australian Islamic Centre in conjunction with the Human Appeal Australia arrived in Lake's Entrance with food and water, and they've also put on a sausage sizzle for people who have been without any sort of cooked food for the past 24 to 48 hours.
We've launched a bushfire appeal, which this is only the start of. We've got 5 trucks worth of supplies. It was all done within 48 hours of notice from the MFB, Melbourne Fire Brigade. And we've come down from Melbourne to distribute to the displaced and needy and the firefighters who are working obviously around the clock. It's pretty much the least that we can do, so we just want to come and support them and show them that the Muslim community in not only Melbourne and Australia is thinking about them, and we're praying for them as well.
We work overseas and locally, and yeah, we are community based, so it's our duty to support our community as they are giving us and helping us. So their hands to reach whatever is possible, and as an Australian organisation, yes, we should be always ready to help our fellow Australians.
So, Annalise, it really is at times a disaster like this that you see the best of Australia shining through.
It is indeed. Patrick Murrell, thank you for the update there from East Gippsland. Now let's get the latest on what's happening in New South Wales. At the RFS headquarters, we have Sam Chiari for us. Sam, more than 100 fires are burning across the state.
Oh, wait, I think we're clocked.
Annalise, we have 10 watch and acts now in place for New South Wales. So in the last 15 minutes, 2 of those fires have been upgraded to watch and act levels. One of them is at Greenwater Creek, which is in the Greater Sydney region. So as it stands right now, 10 watch and acts in place. Majority are those for fires burning in the south of the state, and we're just starting to see the temperatures warm up. Vigorous northwesterly winds are developing and could gust to as much as 80 kilometres per hour in the height of this bushfire catastrophe today. Earlier we heard from New South Wales Rural Fire Services Commissioner Shane Fitzsimmons. He wanted to urge residents and of course authorities on the ground. It is just set to get worse as the afternoon unfolds, and we are certainly starting to see conditions deteriorate.
These fires, the consequences can be deadly. The risk is real, and we've seen that unfold, unfortunately, too much this season. There's now 17 lives that have been lost in New South Wales as a result of these fires.
And Sam, New South Wales Emergency Services Minister David Elliott's finally returned from a holiday. It's after waves of criticism last week.
He arrived here late last night, Annalise, and was briefed from emergency personnel, the fire authorities, and of course the firefighters here at the New South Wales Rural Fire Services headquarters in Sydney in regards to what the plan was for today. This was in the wake of staying on holiday in Europe with his family after the devastating bushfires on New Year's Eve, which claimed over 500 homes on the south coast of New South Wales, and of course we saw a devastating loss of life there on Tuesday as well. Now, the minister has vowed to, of course, step up in the wake of criticism.
I came back to step up, not step down.
Look, I maintained contact with Minister Elliott the whole time he was away. He made it very clear before he left that if things deteriorated, he would cancel his holiday and come back. That's what he did. He's been in here last night. He's got a briefing. He's here with us again today, and I'll maintain that close contact with him throughout this period.
The Minister has, of course, vowed to stay here throughout the day. He's also planning on visiting some fire-affected grounds on Monday and Wednesday of this week. As it stands right now in terms of the conditions here, Annalise, we have 10 watch and acts in place. It's only a matter of time before these fires flare up, even more so considering temperatures in the southeast corner of the state are already soaring to the mid to high 30s. As I mentioned earlier, winds are starting to gust to over 50 kilometres per hour in some of these areas. Extreme fire danger has been forecast today for 6 districts in southern New South Wales. So if new fires start in these regions, they will be difficult to control and hard to predict. We also have a total fire ban in place across the state. The catastrophe is just set to worsen this afternoon as weather conditions, of course, deteriorate.
Sam Chiari, thank you for that update. And those residents on the New South Wales coast who decided to stay and defend their properties against advice are facing those dangerous bushfire conditions. Julia Bradley filed this report from the Nowra staging grounds.
The window of opportunity for people to leave dangerous bushfire zones is rapidly closing. Major roads and highways could be cut off if fire authorities deem them too risky.
Unless they're very, very well prepared and the land around their home is well cleared and they've got a substantial amount of water and extensive knowledge in fire behaviour, no, don't be there. Please leave. Let us do our job.
Over the past 48 hours, thousands of holidaymakers have been evacuated from the south coast. Truckloads of fuel and groceries have been delivered into the region to prop up those who have decided to stay. Residents who are planning to defend their properties are busy clearing leaves out of their gutters and other vegetation. The Rural Fire Service advise evacuation centres and beaches are the safest options.
Fires, probably where the crews are working in the Blackbutt Range Road. If it gets out of the over-containment there, could threaten the townships of Tomarong, St George's Basin, places like that. Further west from where we are now, if it jumps the river, could threaten the townships of Kangaroo Valley, Budgong, Camberwarra.
Temperatures are set to soar into the 40s on the south coast today. Nowra could break January or even all-time records. A dangerous southerly wind change is due to hit Bega late this afternoon, Nowra by the evening.